Hello, and welcome to my channel. I'm Margaret, and here I share real-life stories from my friends at the nursing home. I was told to stay in the car during my granddaughter's birthday, so I drove away and never looked back. When my son told me to wait in the car because Lena's mother doesn't want drama at the party, I realized I'd become an inconvenience in my own family. I remember how the air felt that day, thick and heavy, like it knew something I didn't. The sky was a flat, cloudless blue, too bright for comfort. I sat in the car, parked 2 houses down from the party, the engine ticking softly as it cooled, my hands resting in my lap. In my purse was a small silver box with a velvet ribbon. Inside was a charm bracelet I'd picked out months ago for Lena. One of the charms was a tiny heart with an L engraved. I'd paid extra for that. The music floated through the warm air. Let It Go, of course. Little girls in synthetic princess gowns ran across the trimmed lawn, their laughter piercing and joyful, untethered. A unicorn-shaped bounce house loomed over the grass like something out of a sugary dream. And I sat in the car. I'd worn a linen dress, blue, the shade Bill always said brought out my eyes. I'd curled my hair and added a touch of pink lipstick. I even wore the silver brooch he gave me on our 25th anniversary, pinned just above my heart. When Matt turned off the ignition, I expected him to say, "Ready?" Instead, he kept his hands on the steering wheel and stared out the windshield like he was trying to drive away without starting the car again. "Mom," he started, his voice too soft. "Can we talk for a second?" I knew then. Something in his tone had changed. A hesitation that didn't used to be there when he spoke to me. "Karina's mom is here already, and you know how things have been tense lately. She's just worried the vibe could get weird. So maybe just hang back a bit, just until things settle." I turned and looked at him. Really looked. His jaw was tight, and he still wouldn't meet my eyes. His hair, now flecked with early grey, was neatly combed like it always was when Karina planned things. She liked everything to look curated, even her husband. "And what vibe is that, Matt?" I asked, my voice quieter than I meant it to be. He flinched. "Don't make this harder than it is." "I'm her grandmother." "I know. It's just one party." But it wasn't. It was a pattern. I'm 62 years old, a widow for nearly 6. I used to be a school teacher. 5th grade, for almost 4 decades. The kind of teacher who brought in her own construction paper when the budget was tight, who stayed late with kids waiting for rides that never came. My classroom smelled like books and whiteboard markers, and there was always soft music playing during silent reading. I met Bill at a staff luncheon when we were both in our 20s. He taught history and had a voice like warm maple syrup. We married after 2 years and raised Matt in a little bungalow with a crooked fence and overgrown rosemary bushes that the neighborhood cats loved to sleep under. When Bill died, it felt like the oxygen in the house evaporated. I lasted 2 years in that home alone, holding on by habits, making coffee for 2, turning down the left side of the bed, buying his favorite cereal. But the silence eventually outgrew the walls. Matt had said, "You shouldn't be alone in that place, Mom. It's not safe. You'd be happier with us. Lena would love having you here." And truthfully, the idea of being needed felt like an answer. I sold the house and moved into their sleek, beige world. They gave me the guest room. No curtains, just cold blinds. The walls were the color of old paper. I tried to make it homey, put out one photo of Bill and me in Acadia, a smiling, wind-whipped moment by the sea, but it disappeared within a week. Karina said she was revamping the aesthetic. It never came back. Karina always greeted me with a tight-lipped smile. She wore white athleisure sets and scented her skin with something dry and expensive, She liked order, clean countertops, no clutter, and no unsolicited opinions. I made myself useful. I picked up Lena from preschool. I vacuumed when no one asked. I cooked dinner, simple, comforting food, and was told gently that they were trying to eat clean. They left my lasagna untouched for days. Once, when I was loading the dishwasher, I heard Karina whispering sharply in the hallway. "She's just always around, Matt. I need space. She inserts herself into everything." Matt mumbled something in reply, something half defensive, half resigned. That night, I lay in bed with my back to the door, the old photo of Bill still missing from the dresser. Things got stranger last fall. Matt sat me down and said, "We should help you manage your finances. You've done enough, Mom. Let us take it from here." They framed it like love. I wanted to believe them. I handed over access to my modest pension, let them automate the bills, cancel paper statements. They said it was safer that way. After that, my world got smaller. I stopped baking. I started walking. To the park. To the old strip of shops near Eastbrook Square. That's where I found the bookstore. It was tucked between a florist and a yarn store, a narrow little shop with sun-faded paperbacks stacked in wire racks. The bell above the door jingled when I walked in, and behind the counter was Lily Jenkins, once Lily from my 1994 homeroom class, bright as a sunbeam and just as kind. "Ms. Hartman? No way! You still braid your hair the same." I smiled more than I had in months. We began having tea once a week in her back office. She ran the shop now. Her father had passed, and she kept the place going. She wore soft cardigans and always smelled faintly of lavender. The store felt alive. Books with notes tucked inside. A poetry shelf with dog-eared covers. Customers came and went like old friends. I began to wonder what it might feel like to be surrounded by people who saw me. That morning, for Lena's party, I had gotten up early. I made her favorite lemon cookies, tied with pink ribbon. I wrapped the charm bracelet. I even ironed my dress. And now I was being told to stay in the car, as if I were the problem. I sat for 12 minutes, watching the party unfold, watching Karina laugh with her mother, sipping white wine under the striped canopy, watching my granddaughter spin with delight in the costume I'd sewn with my own hands. Then I reached forward and turned the key in the ignition. I didn't drive home. I didn't cry as I drove. That surprised me. I thought the tears would come in a flood. After all, I'd just been told, in the gentlest possible words, that my presence was no longer wanted, not by strangers, by my own son, at my own granddaughter's birthday. But the tears didn't come. Instead, I felt something spacious, like a door opening in a part of me I didn't know had been locked. I turned off the main road and drove aimlessly at first. Past the hardware store Bill and I used to frequent. Past the old library, where I once held Lena's hand and taught her how to whisper between the stacks. Eventually, I pulled into the side street near Lily's bookstore. It was Sunday, so the store was closed, but the apartment above it, Lily's old storage studio, had a narrow stairwell around back. I climbed it. 2 weeks earlier, I'd asked her, quietly, if she was still looking to rent it. She had blinked at me with surprise, and then softened. "I thought you were settled with your family." "I thought so too," I said. We didn't speak about it again. But I'd come back 2 days later and handed her an envelope with 3 months' rent, in cash. My pension wasn't much, but I'd squirreled away bits over the years. A birthday gift unspent. A bonus check from my last teaching year. Even the money I got from selling Bill's vintage tool collection on eBay. She handed me the key without a word. I had been too afraid to use it. Until now. The studio was small. Not cozy small. Tight small. A single room with sloped ceilings and pale wooden floors. One window faced east, catching the morning light. There was a small galley kitchen, a clawfoot tub in the corner behind a folding screen, and a mattress on a raised platform Lily had built herself. It smelled like cedar and old books. I walked in and shut the door behind me. The quiet felt different here. Not like the careful hush of Matt and Karina's house, where even the ice cubes clinking in a glass felt too loud. No, this was soft, forgiving quiet, like I could drop something and not have to explain why. I sat on the mattress. The bracelet box was still in my purse. I opened it and stared at the tiny charms. I didn't cry. Instead, I slept. The next morning, I left a note on Matt and Karina's kitchen table. Just 4 lines. I'm safe. I've found a place of my own. Please don't contact me for a while. Love, Mom. I didn't sign it Mommy like I used to. I packed only what I needed. A few dresses, my reading glasses, a half-used journal. I left the rest. I figured Karina would be thrilled to have the closet back. For 2 weeks, I didn't answer calls. I didn't check messages. I turned off the ringer and placed the phone in a drawer. Instead, I walked. I drank my coffee by the window and watched the delivery trucks pass below. I helped Lily reorganize the children's section, dusting off forgotten picture books and restocking shelves with paperbacks I knew by heart. Charlotte's Web, Because of Winn-Dixie, Tuck Everlasting, Old Friends. We spoke little. We didn't need to. Some people speak better through small acts, placing a warm mug in your hand, leaving an extra scone in the bakery bag, unlocking the door early when it rains. After the first week, I asked Lily if I could host a weekly reading hour for children. Just something simple. Stories and juice and carpet squares. She looked at me with eyes that understood what I wasn't saying. You were always meant to teach, she said. The first class had 3 kids. The second had 9. By the 4th week, we had to move furniture to make space. There's something about the way children listen when you really mean what you're reading. They lean in. Their eyes go wide. They laugh, without checking to see if anyone else is laughing. There was a little boy named Jaden who sat in the same corner each week and asked the sharpest questions, and a girl named Molly who hugged me every time she left. One Saturday, a tired young mother pulled me aside after class and said, "You're the only thing she talks about all week." It startled me. Not because I didn't believe her, but because I'd forgotten what it felt like to be seen as something good. Meanwhile, I received texts. "Where are you? You left Lena crying. This is irresponsible. Karina is willing to talk if you apologize." And finally, "We're struggling, Mom. Rent is high. Could we at least talk about the pension stuff?" That one came after 6 weeks of silence. I didn't respond. I didn't need to. One crisp morning in October, I was preparing for that day's literacy class, stacking frog and toad books and slicing apple wedges, when the doorbell chimed. I looked up to see Karina, in her designer trench coat and oversized sunglasses, standing stiffly in the doorway. Lily looked at me from behind the counter. "You okay?" she mouthed. I nodded. I wasn't afraid. Not anymore. Karina approached slowly, the smell of her floral perfume dragging behind her like a net. "I was hoping we could talk," she said. I waited. She looked around the shop as if it embarrassed her. "Matt said you've been busy." I smiled just slightly. "Yes, I have." There was a pause. She shifted her weight. "We're behind on a few things. School tuition, car repairs. If you could help us with—" "I'm sure you'll figure it out," I said gently. "You always do." Her mouth opened, then closed. I saw the flicker of indignation. But underneath that, confusion. Maybe even the beginning of regret. I didn't let it in. "Is Lena okay?" I asked. She's fine, she said stiffly. She misses you. I nodded. She can visit. I'm always here on Saturdays. Karina said nothing else. She turned, her heels clicking too loud on the wooden floor, and left without looking back. I exhaled slowly. That night, I lit a candle by the window and watched the wind toss the leaves along the sidewalk. I thought of Bill. I whispered, "You'd be proud of me." And for the first time in years, I believed it might be true. Sometimes the softest goodbyes echo the longest. The studio above the bookstore became more than a refuge. It became a reclamation. Every creaky floorboard, every drafty window, every chipped teacup in that little kitchen reminded me I was no longer living someone else's life. I was living mine. The silence in the mornings was kind, not cold. I'd wake to the smell of rain on the windowsill or the dry scent of sun on old wood. I started journaling again. Some mornings I wrote about Bill, silly memories, the way he used to sing Moon River while brushing his teeth. Other days I wrote down lessons I'd forgotten I ever taught. How to hold space for children who needed gentleness. How to listen, truly listen, when someone was talking about nothing, but really saying everything. The more I wrote, the more my body softened. My shoulders stopped curling inward. My breath stopped catching in my chest like it used to in their house, when I'd try to speak and feel the words dissolve in the air like steam. One afternoon, Lily handed me a wrapped package with a sheepish smile. "I found these in storage," she said. "Thought they deserved to be in better hands." Inside was a small wooden easel and a worn set of pastels. I hadn't drawn in years, but later that week I took them to the window and sketched the view. The corner bakery, the crooked lamppost, the boy with the trumpet who always played the same 4 notes after school. The drawing was rough, but it felt alive. Meanwhile, the Saturday literacy group was thriving. We called it Little Lanterns. The name came from something I once said offhand. Books are like lanterns. You can't always see where you're going, but they help you keep walking. By week 8, we had kids sitting cross-legged in the aisles. We added a second reading day. Lily ordered more beanbags. One mother, Jade, a single mum with kind eyes and paint on her jeans, started staying after sessions to help clean up. She told me, "You remind me of my grandma, the good kind." One rainy Tuesday, a little boy named Trevor brought me a tiny, crumpled paper flower. "It's for your house," he said, "because you're nice. You talk slow." I laughed. "That's a compliment?" He nodded. "People who talk slow don't yell." I kept the flower on my windowsill for weeks, even as it faded. Of course, the outside world didn't vanish. After 2 months, I received a text from Matt. "Hey, we'd like to see you. Lena keeps asking. Karina said we should try again. Can we meet?" I didn't reply. Not out of spite, just out of stillness. I wasn't ready to be pulled back into a place where my needs were invisible. A few weeks later, a letter arrived. No return address, but I knew the handwriting immediately. Karina's. Elegant, practiced, precise. "We're struggling financially. Lena's school is expensive, and we had to dip into savings for car repairs. We know you have some retirement funds left, and it would mean a lot if you could help with just a small amount to tide us over." No mention of the party, no apology, just need. I folded the letter carefully, placed it in a drawer, and said nothing. Instead, I made applesauce muffins for the kids and prepared a reading of Charlotte's Web. When I read the final passage, about how Wilbur never forgot Charlotte and her kindness, I had to pause. My throat tightened, because I knew what it was to be invisible and remembered all at once. Then, one cold November evening, Matt came to the shop. He stood in the doorway awkwardly, his hands deep in his coat pockets. He looked smaller than I remembered, I don't want to make a scene, he said. I just wanted to see you. I nodded toward a chair. You can sit. I'm about to have tea. He looked around the shop like it startled him. You really built something here? No, I said gently. I just stopped shrinking. He looked at me then, really looked, like he hadn't in years. I don't think I realized how much we were asking of you, he said. You gave up your house, your space, your voice. I didn't correct him. It wasn't just they who took it. I had handed those things over, piece by piece, thinking that was what love required. But love doesn't mean erasure. I'm sorry, he said. And this time it didn't feel like a performance. I hope you learn to say that to yourself too, I said. Because you deserve your own forgiveness, just not at the cost of mine. We sat for a while. No big scene. No reconciliation montage. Just two people who shared blood and a long history, breathing the same air again. He left quietly. Didn't ask for money, didn't bring up the pension, and maybe that, in its own way, was a gift. Weeks later, a cardboard box appeared at the foot of the stairs to my studio. Inside, my favorite books, my framed picture of Bill, a scarf I'd knitted for Lena last winter, a sticky note on top. You deserve to have your things. Love, Matt. I unpacked everything slowly, hung the photo, folded the scarf, lit a candle, and felt, for the first time in years, entirely home. On Christmas Eve, Lena came to the shop with Jade and her daughter. She ran to me, arms open, nearly knocking over a display of bookmarks. Grandma, I missed you. I knelt and held her close. I missed you too. She pointed to the wall behind me. That your picture with Grandpa? Yes, I said. That's where we fell in love with lighthouses. She thought for a second. You want to draw one with me? And so we did. On a napkin. Her version had hearts in the windows. Mine had the sea roaring around it. Side by side, we made something new. Today, I stood in the middle of the bookstore while Lily locked up, the late afternoon sun streaming through the front glass. My little class had just finished reading The Secret Garden, and the kids left behind sticky fingerprints, laughter, and a few forgotten mittens. I looked around at the mess, the beauty, the life I built. And I whispered, to no one in particular, and to everyone I used to be, I'm finally living my own life. And it is quiet, and full, and mine.